Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Well, I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody soon will be sitting down for a dinner of turkey or whatever dinner you eat on this day. Now, the Joseph Biden administration and or the persons in charge of the United States, who we at this point really don't know who that is now calling for the Ukrainians to increase the size of its military. It is telling the Ukrainians that they should now start conscripting men as young as 18 years old. Yep. President Joe Biden's administration is urging Ukraine to quickly increase the size of its military by drafting more troops and revamping its mobilization laws to allow for the conscription of those as young as 18. This is from the Associated Press. A senior Biden administration official who spoke on the condition of being anonymous to discuss the private consultation, said Wednesday that the outgoing Democratic administration wants Ukraine to lower mobilization age to 18 from the current age of 25 to help expand the pool of fighting age men available to help a badly outnumbered Ukraine in its nearly 3-year-old war with Russia. The official said the pure math of Ukraine's situation now is that it needs more troops in the fight. Currently, Ukraine is not mobilizing or training enough soldiers to replace its battlefield losses, while keeping pace with Russia's growing military, the official said. The White House has pushed more than $56 billion, say again, $56 billion in security assistance to Ukraine since the start of Russia's February 2022 invasion. That is an incorrect number. It's actually a lot higher than that. The official said the Ukrainians believe they need about 160,000 additional troops. But the U.S. administration believes they probably will need more than that. More than 1 million Ukrainians are now in uniform, including the National Guard and other units. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been hearing concerns from allies and other Western capitals as well that Ukraine has troop-level problems and not an arms problem, according to European officials who requested to be anonymous. Look, no one wants to be on record on saying something that is Captain Obvious stupid. Interesting. The European allies have stressed that the lack of depth means that it may soon become untenable for Ukraine to continue to operate in Russia's Kursk border region. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Wow. The situation in Kursk has become further complicated by the arrival of thousands of quote-unquote North Korean troops who have come to help Moscow try to claw back the land seized in the Ukrainian incursion this year. Clawback. In reference to the Kursk incursion, I believe that the Russians could take back the area in question here, the Kursk Oblast potato fields of death, in a matter of days. In a matter of days, the Russians could do this. The Russians don't want to do this. The Russians want those Ukrainian combat brigades, and look, I've talked about this before, to be sitting in these frozen potato fields of death, getting shelled day in and day out, and being pummeled by long-range multiple launch rocket systems and attack drones of various types. Again, having 4 to 10 Ukrainian combat brigades hunkered down in Kursk Oblast only helps the Russians. Again, this makes absolutely no sense whatsoever in terms of what the Ukrainians are doing and how they're doing it. You conduct a military operation with the intent of seizing military objectives. The Ukrainians right now are in no position in Kursk Oblast or the areas around Kursk to launch a military operation to threaten Russian territory. Those units that are being used to sit in these frozen potato fields of death are then not able to be deployed to other areas of conflict. Case in point, the Donbass offensive. This is actually, let's see here. Let's move forward, and you, the viewer, can see what exactly has happened. And it's going to continue this way in terms of how the Russians are advancing. Over the last 48 hours, the Russians have fired off more than 500 drones and missiles against Ukrainian targets. Now, you'll hear the mainstream media talking about striking Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. That the purpose of these attacks by the Russians are to degrade and destroy the civilian infrastructure of the Ukraine. Now, could that be an element of what the Russians are doing? It could be. But what the Russians are also doing is eliminating power capacity, energy generation capacity that gives the Ukrainians the ability to fight a war. In order to produce weapon systems, in order to produce drones, in order to produce missile systems, in order to operate weapons factories, you have to have power. And if you cut that power off, it makes it much more difficult for your adversary to produce weapon systems and fight a war. If battlefield commanders and warfighters don't have access to power, it makes fighting that war more difficult for a range of variety of reasons. Not just making it cold and uncomfortable for the civilian population. It does a lot more than just that. Now, additionally, the capacity of the Russians to manufacture missile systems is greatly increasing. The Russians, as we speak, are sitting on a stockpile. Some believe that it is well over 500 KH-101 cruise missiles. These are air-launched cruise missile systems. Well over 300 of the Iskander semi-ballistic missile system. And that stockpile is continuing to grow even with almost daily use of these missile systems. The Russian military-industrial capacity continues to increase day in and day out. We are continuing to see new factories, new facilities come online. Some factories are expanding, getting larger day in and day out. But again, back to the original idea that the Ukrainians are now going to start conscripting 18-year-olds. How is that going? What is that going to do to the morale of the Ukrainian population? Look, an 18-year-old boy is not that old. Now, it has been a tradition, at least here in the United States, when the U.S. has conscripted forces, most young men that join the military soon after high school. They complete their 12th grade year of high school, and those who want to enlist are usually 18, 19, 20 years old. Some wait a couple of years, and maybe there just isn't opportunities that they had anticipated post-high school, and many then want to just get out of their hometowns, and they see the military as a way to do that. Now, this is different in the Ukraine, obviously. There is a high probability that if you are a Ukrainian conscript and you are conscripted into the Ukrainian military, you are going to be killed. It is estimated that 1 out of 20 Ukrainian fighting age males right now have either been killed or seriously wounded in this conflict. That is going to decrease the morale of the Ukrainian state much quicker than not having access to heat for a portion of the day because the power's out. Large-scale conscription of 18-year-olds just out of grade school, that is going to decrease morale far more rapidly than any Russian missile strike on power generation would have. And then you have to consider the audacity of where this is coming from. Many of these Democratic leaders in the current administration have never served in the military whatsoever, and yet they are demanding the children of others go fight essentially in their stead. Because look, there's a lot of dollars, obviously. A lot of dollars wrapped up in this conflict. Billions upon billions, probably closer to at the end of all of this. I would argue close to $1 trillion by the time it's all said and done. But the Russian offensive continues. The collapse of the Donbass front is continuing. Again, we're going to back up here, let you, the viewer, see what exactly has happened over the course of the last, essentially, for November. And then again, a lot of this may not have occurred. Well, it wouldn't have been as aggressive if the Ukrainians had not launched that offensive in Kursk. And here we go. Very difficult situation. So we're going to continue to watch what is happening just to the southwest of Kursk. We're also watching very closely in Velika Novosilka, this area here. The Russians are continuing envelopment operations. If this city falls, you're going to see a rapid collapse. And then at the same time, we are continuing to watch and observe a possible Russian buildup south of Orikhiv as well. So again, the reason that the administration in the White House, in the capital of the United States, are wanting the Ukrainians to recruit 18-year-olds, to conscript 18-year-olds, is because things are falling apart very rapidly. And if things get out of hand, you will watch, you will observe the general collapse of the Ukrainian military. It is starting to happen now. So as always, thank you for joining us. Have a great Thanksgiving. Have a good day.